A quarter of a century ago, a bright young couple with big ideas, but not much of a budget, set out on a mission to create a sustainable farm that was good for the planet as well as the purse. The food forest, as it's known, is now an organic smorgasbord, tucked between highways, housing and more conventional farms near Gawler, a 45-minute drive north of Adelaide. 150 different varieties of fruit, vegetables, nuts and cereals are crammed into 15 hectares, which in modern farming terms is not much more than a backyard. The couple has concentrated on hardy perennial crops that handle semi-arid conditions and hunt out the underground aquifers. The main crop is pistachios, but growing nuts takes time. So in the early days, the Brookmans turned to pickles to prop up their profits.
So this is the original plan Kerry done 25 years ago.
The gherkins also didn't fit in with the couple's plan to create a permaculture farm, which is all about saving energy, not using it up. And you've kept to it pretty much as it is here?
Absolutely. The only thing would be the occasional tree that's come and gone.
Well, initially we didn't know about permaculture. I was very interested in organics and Graham was very interested in sustainable land use. And it was not until after we bought our piece of land and had lots of ideas, which didn't really hang together very well, that we just happened to come across it.
Permaculture is short for permanent agriculture and permanent culture. It's basically a design system aimed at creating a sustainable environment and lifestyle where everything feeds into and off each other.
Every element, every animal, plant is placed for a particular reason, and where every element serves a number of purposes. So these geese, for instance, will weed specific weeds. They'll convert crop wastes like fallen apples, grain, etc. into very absolutely beautiful goose meat.
Another weeder the Brookmans have introduced into the mix is the bettong, and they've been surprised at just how productive the native animal is.
South Australia is the mammal extinction capital of the universe. You know, we have absolutely monstered our fauna. So it was a conscious effort to put native animals into a productive agricultural system. And they have done absolutely magnificently things that we never would have thought of, like they love soursop bulbs. Oxalis, one of the absolute biggest pests of organic systems, and these little guys just dig up those bulbs and chomp them down. So they're wonderful, wonderful creatures in our system. They also will not tolerate rats, and so they've driven every rat off the place.
While implementing such an intricate plan may sound tricky, the Brookmans insist that was the easy part. Generating a decent income from it has been more of a struggle. Value adding has been the key, with the couple setting up a certified organic processing plant so they can also dry fruit and nuts, which they then sell at farmers' markets. The plant combines innovation and simple common sense, with the nuts sent through a spin cycle before being transferred to a state-of-the-art dehydrator.
Australian farmers have really been pretty hopeless in terms of value adding. Basically just park the ship, pour the wheat in, say goodbye to the ship and get paid whatever. We know that. For instance, the average supermarket's buying fruit at $1.40, selling it at $5 something. Now, where did the value adding happen there? Basically just by putting it in the shop.
Permaculture's mostly influenced the sort of self-reliance scene rather than commercial agriculture. The food forest is an interesting combination in that there is strong elements of food self-reliance and self-sufficiency here, but it's clearly also a commercial agricultural enterprise. Sometimes you can be seeing things in the landscape all the time, but until you put a name to it, you are somehow not aware of it.
David Holmgren is one of the brains behind the permaculture movement, which started in Australia 30 years ago. He's been an inspiration for the Brookmans over the years, and now his former students are passing on what they've learnt. The couple has opened an education centre on their property, which has also turned out to be their main moneymaker.
I think Annemarie was saying that it's like 20 metre deep soil or something around
20 metres,
yeah.
about same.
We've certainly found over the last few years in the permaculture design courses that we run that there is a broader range of people doing permaculture design courses who want to know how to live more sustainably, not just grow your own food, but have a more energy efficient house and behave in a much more sustainable way across the board in all the decisions that they make, and that there's definitely that shift.
While the food forest now reaps steady financial returns, for the Brookmans the real reward has been what they've returned to the land. They've improved soil fertility by quadrupling the level of carbon in it, and have saved water by only using about 1 megalitre a hectare each year.
So it's deficit irrigation, where we're saying to the trees, look, we'll give you a help at particular times of the year, like when you're flowering, so you produce lots of potential fruit, and right at the end to finish the fruit off so it's of good quality. But in between time, you're kind of living in the desert, if that's all right.
As a permaculture property, I often say to people I see the food forest as the best permaculture demonstration site in Australia.
The food forest. The judges at the recent South Australian Premier's Food Awards agreed. The permaculture property picked up the top prize for environmental sustainability.
And to those of you, the thousands of people who elect to use public transport, ride bikes, live in small environmentally designed houses and eat sustainably produced food, you are not crazy. Thank you.
Despite the recognition and results, permaculture is still struggling to find its place in Australian farming circles. There is greater awareness about land care and more interest in perennials and integrating different crops and animals. But Graham Brookman says bigger farms have pushed many of the smaller, more environmentally sustainable ones out. However, he predicts that will change in the next couple of decades as oil prices go up.
Most of the nitrogenous fertiliser straight from natural gas. So those systems, whilst they seem so massive and impregnable and magnificent and so forth, are really going to be on the knife edge. Whereas you get a nice perennial system, whether it would be saltbush and kangaroos or whether it be pistachio nuts and betongs, that sustainable design is the key to our future really in Australia.
The Brookmans see their biggest challenge as climate change. This year, many of their apples have literally stewed on the trees. The March heatwave even fried some of the more drought-tolerant crops like carob.
Since my mother was born, which is 85 years ago, the average maximum temperature in rural South Australia has gone up 2 degrees centigrade. I mean, this is totally horrifying stuff. If we allow that to go on, if we just keep consuming energy so profligately, then we're really going to get ourselves into strife with climate change.
Probably jujubes if we can get the rootstocks to perform properly.
Isn't that horrible? It's freaking...
I think probably we're just going to have to give apples the heave-ho and go for some sort of a more heat-hardy, low-chill variety.
The Brookmans are proud of what they've done with their patch, but it's still a work in progress. They plan to plant even sturdier stock to ensure the place remains sustainable.
We've just got jujubes, which are a really drought-hardy species that is salt-tolerant and frost-tolerant, and it doesn't have a high chill requirement. And we're just, I think, getting to the point where maybe someone's found a rootstock that won't sort of race off into the middle distance. So we'd have a whole new crop that we could grow in the dry country in Australia. It's very exciting.
It's vital that we work out how to sustainably occupy this planet, and for us to have just a small part in doing that and to teach others how to do it is immensely satisfying.